Hello guys, this is a review of the movie Words on Bathroom Walls. I did read a lot of criticism in regards to the portrayal of schizophrenia in the movie. A lot of people were saying that it does not accurately depict what schizophrenia and the symptoms of having schizophrenia are like. I have to say that this is just a review of the movie. It's my opinion. It may or may not be a fact. It's always been this way. It's always going to be this way unless otherwise stated. So with that in mind, let's get started. Words on Bathroom Walls follows the story of Adam. He's a high school student barely being diagnosed with schizophrenia. For those of you who may not know, schizophrenia is when a person sees, hears, imagines things that are not really there. Um, Before even reading the criticism, I too felt like it was gravely exaggerated. For example, he has these recurring and developed characters that he always sees all the time, and it's this like this badass guy with a bat, then this yoga like peace instructor, then this hormonal teenager, and I think someone else, but it's always that. And then he also sees like this gooey black matter. Anyway, before I continue with the plot, some of the things that I have to get out of my head is that the movie was all over the place, and I think that that's in part due to the fact that I hope the director wanted to show us what it was like to be inside the mind of someone with schizophrenia, at least from his point of view. For example, there's a lot of like cutscenes and a lot of very weird um special effects just going all over the place, and camera angles and spinning and the hallucinations, which I did not enjoy one bit. I do understand, like I said, I hope that it was intentional. If it wasn't, then I feel like it was kind of like a bad judgment call. But if it was, and mm, I mean it's his vision, right? um I feel like, and I did jot some points down, so if you see me looking to the side constantly, it's because I'm looking. I didn't want to forget them. The movie is also quite cliche and childish, which almost stopped me from watching the rest of the movie, because I felt like well, I mean, I wasn't gonna stop. I'm not that type of person that I just write off the first 15 minutes and I'm like, okay, bad movie. No, I give it a try for a lot longer, but I was not very interested with what I saw in the opening scenes. I feel like movies that deal with such an important subject like this one, they deserve a rating for more mature audiences, so that they, I don't know, but I mean, I get the point. They are very young, so this movie is, I think, directed towards teens. It is PG-13. Let me continue with the plot. So he has a few issues that have little to nothing to do with him having schizophrenia. For example, his father passed away, and he was, I think, in a way raised by his stepdad and his mom. He has a little. He's going to have a new sibling um arriving soon, but it's just him, his stepdad, and his mom, and there's a lot of tension between them. He feels like he was a team with his mom before, like they were partners in crime, but after the arrival of his stepdad, then things kind of went downhill, and he doesn't feel that connection. And especially now that he's presenting these symptoms and that he's having a lot of trouble in life, he feels that the stepdad wants to get rid of him and that he's just a burden to the family. While in science class, he has his one best friend, and he starts seeing things that are not there, so he drops what I think is acid on his friend's arm. So he starts yelling and everything. The security guard has to come and restrain him. And that's when they realize that he has schizophrenia. So, due to the constant bullying and harassment by other peers, he moves to another school. And his mother enrolls him in a Catholic nun school where they are aware of him having schizophrenia, but they give him a chance with the condition that he takes his meds. While being there, fun fact, he goes to the restroom even before his first actual day of class. But when he went to speak to the nun, He went to the restroom and there was a young girl whose name is Maya dealing drugs, and the guy that she's selling to, he came out in Halloween. I did not fact check what I'm saying, but he looks a lot like not the original Halloween, but the sequel with Jamie Lee Curtis, and not the original sequel from back in the day, but the most recent one before the one that came out, if that makes any sense. I should have Googled that before saying this, but yeah, that happens. And this reminds me a lot of Giant Little Ones, the other movie that I reviewed, because the minute that Maya came into the scene, she really amped everything up. I feel like she brought great acting. That girl is a real talent. I feel like she hit the nail right on the head every single time. And it gave, like I said, that spice that the movie was lacking, because it was just a little too cliche for me. The whole movie also has a lot of Donnie Darko vibes. Another great movie that I own, obviously, but I haven't reviewed yet. Um, it has that like outsider type of feel, but in this one they kind of like mellowed it down. If that makes any sense. So, I should first finish the plot before going on with the other details. So that happens, right? He's being successful. He's talking to Maya. He's falling in love with her. Maya's also kind of finding him attractive. He wants to be a chef. That's his dream. But after taking the medication for a while, he starts noticing that yes, the visions are going away, but he's um, having trouble with his hands. For example, they shake too much because of the medication, and that's preventing him from completing tests in school, very important tests, or working as a chef. It also affects his taste buds, so he's not able to taste the same way. And you could imagine how that's a huge problem for him, because that's basically his life. Anyway, near the end, he ends up being taken to a mental institution. Sorry, because he's just unable to cope. And there, he had already accused his stepdad of like wanting him out of his life and everything, because they kicked him out of the Catholic school, and he feels that it was his dad's fault, his stepdad's fault. And there it is revealed that while the dad was in fact always kind of like putting in his 2 cents with everything regarding him, it was actually in a positive way, not in a bad way. So it was part of his hallucinations, is him hearing things that were not really there. For example, if he when he got kicked out of school, or at suspended because he stopped taking his meds and the nun found out, the father wrote a letter to the school telling them that that was irresponsible, because this child has already gone through so much, and you like not giving him a second chance is really going to affect his mental health. But in his eyes and Adam's eyes, he felt like he was writing a letter like, oh, you should kick him out because he's like a menace. um, and when he found out through a letter that he read while in the hospital, his stepdad and his mother are walking out, and he rushes over. That's one of the best scenes in the movie. There are a few. That's one of them. It was so heartfelt, so real. I loved it. Now that's the end of the plot. Another very heartfelt moment was when he goes on a date with Maya, and they're out eating. They're, I think, on their way back, and they see some old schoolmates of his peers that bully him, especially, and they start calling him names. They're like, oh, you crazy, this and that. And I could so identify with that, like, a lot, because I feel like at one point or another in our lives, especially during our teenage years, we encounter these type of people that really have nothing positive to say because of personal problems of theirs or whatever the case might be. And sometimes you're going, like, especially with someone else that does not know that type of harassment that you're going through. So you're like, oh my gosh, please don't say anything, please don't say anything. And like they do say something, and Maya does stand up for him, but it was still a very uncomfortable, embarrassing situation, I feel. And even for like people, for the abusers, it's not just you having shame for the things that are happening. If you actually sit down and think about it, they're the ones that are acting inappropriately and should be ashamed of themselves. Another point, let me see. The priest scenes were really funny. At first, I thought that they were trying to pull the Sixth Sense type of thing with me, where the priest wasn't really a priest, and I mean, not really there, you know, not an actual person, but part of his hallucinations, and he ended up being real, which I kind of also suspected. Like it was kind of like a half and half situation. They play it in a very comical way because he visits Adam in the hospital, the priest, and Adam asks one of the medical assistants, "He's real, right?" You could see him, and she's like, "Yeah, yeah, he's real." So that was really funny. Let me see if I missed something else. Um. Oh, so this quote is said by Adam somewhere near the end of the movie where he really reaches the boiling point. He says something along the lines of, "When people have cancer, people want to make their lives as mm, as pleasant as possible, and just grant them all their wishes. But when you have schizophrenia, you become someone else's problems, and you end up screaming at nothing in the streets, waiting to die." And that's something that, this is a very serious subject, but I do have to agree with him on this. Sometimes, before I get into this, I have to say also that Maya was upset with Adam when she found out. Not because he hid it from her, because she also had a secret. She was poor, and that's why she was, you know, dealing drugs in school. And even when they first met, Adam kept telling her, "You know, I feel like you have something," because she mentioned it to him as well. "You have something going on." At first I thought it was just some awkward, like, social inadequacy, but there's more than that, and I will figure you out, Adam. And she says the same to her. And when she does find out that he has it, she makes it a point to him that she's not upset because he hid it from her, or that he has it. It's the fact that he didn't give her a chance to choose. And it's very important, because before I get into the quote that I just told you, is because I feel like sometimes, not sometimes, but oftentimes, we feel responsible for the well-being of other people, and it's very good to be conscious and to be aware of that. But at the same time, for example, if you're pregnant and you're like a teenage girl, let's just say, and your parents are like, "Oh, we'll support you, we'll help you, like, if you have a home here, I know that you messed up, you're probably left home, but we're here for you." And you're thinking, "No, but I don't want to, like, bother you with this, like, you already raised me, and it was my being irresponsible that ended up getting me pregnant, so I don't want you to deal with, like, another baby." If you want to have the baby and you just don't know how to go on about raising him, and you have that support, then don't think about, "Oh, what am I gonna do?" Like, they're offering the help, then you take it. I know that because I walk out in the streets, especially where I live, and there's a lot of homeless people, and you stop and think, not all of them have the same history, you know. Anyone can become homeless, and I feel like a lot of times we separate each other. We're like, "Oh, them and us, those are the homeless, we're not." But anybody could be homeless, and I feel like there might be a good share of these people that suffer from mental illness and did not receive the help that they needed to get better. But back to what I just read, they do end up in the streets, and I think it's, like I said, if you have a friend, if you have a family member willing to lend a hand, then you go ahead and you take it. Don't think, "Oh, well, I'm gonna make their life miserable because I'm like a child, or they had to do this." Whatever the case may be, you have no idea. Because if they're offering you the help, even though you have a serious condition or whatever, it's because their life is better with you in it. And because they want to see you succeed, and your happiness is their happiness, and you are part of what makes their life whole. And I feel like we take it for granted. Oftentimes we think, "Well, I don't want to bother them." But if, like, we say, "Oh, I'm gonna kill myself, and then they won't have to worry about me." But you haven't stopped to think that maybe you are part of their happiness, maybe a great deal of it. And without you, then they will be very, very, very depressed. So I think, I mean, this could count as advice. I would even go as far as to say that it is advice. If someone wants to help you out of the kindness of their heart or the connection that you have or whatever, consider accepting it. Really, really, really consider accepting it, and don't just go off based on, no, but I'm no good. Just don't throw a pity party. If you need the help and they're offering you, take it. And I'm not, like, I don't have the facts here, but I'm pretty sure if you research, if you're going through something similar to Adam and you don't have the support from family members or friends or someone around you, research it, and you will, there should be people willing to take you in and to work with you, so you could get better. To my understanding, sorry, there's no cure for schizophrenia at the moment, but there are medications that may help with the symptoms and stuff like that, and that's why there are professionals in the world. Everyone's life is valuable. Look after yourself and after others, and everything will be fine. So back to this movie, because I really really went off. um Let me see if there's something else. No, I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, the movie is very toned down for the subject being. I feel like the hallucinations, those characters were really exaggerated and oftentimes took away from the progression of the movie. Like, the movie is going well, it's finally picking up steam, and then, like, when he stops taking his medications, for example, he starts seeing them again, and I'm like, no, we were doing so well. But I think all in all is it's a pretty good movie. Not that amazing, but it's fine. I would give it a rating of 7 out of 10. I think 7 out of 10 is fair. The actor, who I think is Charlie Plummer, he really caught my attention because I've been seeing him lately in the cover of DVDs. He also comes out with the co-star of Love, Simon. I forgot her name, I'm sorry. And they come out in a movie together, so I was really interested in buying this one also because it came with a slipcover, and I try not to let it pass me when I see a slipcover of a movie that interests me, because then months later, maybe years later, you won't be able to find it as easily. But anyway, that's it for this one. I talked a lot as usual, but thank you for watching.